On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, take SBRs off the NFA, the soy cowboy clause, Holosun and cheap night vision, and Alec Baldwin will pay. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Denny and Marky, and this is episode 286 of the John 1911 podcast. I just yelled at Denny. I told him to be quiet so I could get the proper introduction to the podcast. So we so out of practice, we're like a couple of clowns today. So how has your life been working on the River Styx?
Well, let's just say I've been busy. And also, let's just say to drag my ass out of retirement, they had to make it financially worthwhile. Because I left I left that place between heaven and earth for a while, but now I'm back. Every time I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Well, we had made a joke because we never shared. We talked about it on pod, but we never showed the pictures. But the last time, well, probably not the last time you worked, but the last time we talked about you doing the special project, you had mentioned people committing suicide at this place.
Several
so they show
times.
up and do the deed. Well, so Danny sends me. He told me this. He told some of the story on the pod. Whatever. So then Danny, a couple days ago, sends me another photograph, which we won't publish, of a person that is apparently suicidal at this place. And it's just like, I told Danny, I'm like, where the hell do you work? The River Styx, which is where the boatman comes and takes you to the other side, old mythology. So, I mean, good Lord, what the hell what is going on in Chicago, brother?
You thought, now that you have video evidence, you now know I was not kidding. And that's
you have proof of 2 attempted suicides to me alone, and you're not there 24 hours a day.
No.
Of them within 2 of them in, like, I don't know, a 3-week period.
It happens.
4 weeks.
What the local papers and news, they don't like to publish it when it happens because they're worried about copycats. But it happens more than what one would think.
Yeah, that's a general rule with a lot of these kinds of things.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So of course, on my I'm off today. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is, look, people, if you're in Chicago and it's that terrible, just do what the people in California do. Move to Florida, move to Texas, move to Tennessee. You don't have to kill yourself. There is hope. Just move to a free state.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking about California, did you see about those lunar moon killings? That was terrible.
Lunar moon killing sounds like an 80s werewolf movie.
I don't know, but did you see the article?
I mean, I like, it happened that one night, and then I saw reference to it, and everyone's kind of running with it. It's this, like, guy with a, I think it was initially being reported as guy with a rifle, and now they were like, oh, no, it's not a hate crime. It's a Asian guy who shot up an Asian Lunar New Year event thing, and he was jealous about his wife, and they caught the guy, and it turns out he's had pistols, not a rifle, and he committed suicide. It's like, since this doesn't fit certain narratives, I feel like this is already dropping out of the news.
Yeah, it is sort of quieting down, isn't it? Well, once they realize it doesn't, the mainstream media does not fit the narrative that they want to create.
But I mean, I guess Gavin Newsom's already come out and be like, we need to talk about. I'm going to have a meeting with these people, and we need to talk about, I don't know, something with gun control. And it's like, okay, whatever. I have an idea. Why don't you put crazy people in jail? Okay, okay, all right. So here's the thing. So let's back up off this, and let's talk about a shooting that had happened a number of weeks ago, probably between when you and I have recorded a pod, where a kid, like a 6-year-old kid, like a child, like a little kid, shot his teacher at a school in Virginia. Was it Norfolk or if it was it's right. It's one I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart, but it's one of the little cities right there on the coast. And the woman was reaching to take the gun from the child, and the child shot the teacher. And it's like, this is awful. Like, what the hell's going on here? Well, it comes out. Hold on. Let me do something real quick.
Is that the one where some of the teachers were aware of the gun
Well,
that the kid had it?
it comes out that like this kid is like a little terror. Like the kid has threatened people. The kid has barricaded classrooms. I think the kid's been maybe involved in assaults. Like they've had major problems with this kid. And like the student or the teachers, maybe even parents, but definitely the teachers had complained to the administration about this child. And they're like, what are you going to do? And it's like, all right, like there used to be. I mean, I remember this happened to me. It didn't happen to me. I witnessed this. I remember I went to private schools on the East Coast, and I remember I was a freshman in high school, and I had just gotten there, and there was this kid that was in my freshman class, and this is literally like homeroom, whatever, first period, whatever I call it. And this kid was trouble. Like this kid, but we all thought he was hilarious. But now as an adult, I realized he was trouble. And like you even had to do something where you had to, we had to like vote for classroom president or classroom rep. Like, and so like this kid was like this weird stoner kid, like just all this, but when you're 14, yeah, 14, right? Is that freshman? You think that kid's funny. So we made him, like, we've been in school for 5 minutes, and we made him the classroom, whatever representative. Within 2 weeks, that kid was out of the school. They ran him off. They were like, nope, you can't go here anymore because you're a little fuckface. And
What
I
was it?
realized,
Was it George Santos you voted
yeah,
for?
maybe, hold on, we'll get to that. But, it used, and then like this kid down at, like these kids that shoot up these schools a lot of the time. I mean, even going back to the Columbine shootings, well, that was almost 20 years ago, I think, and there was some stuff with those kids being little fuck faces. Yeah, and it's just like it used to be that we are like, oh no, you're a problem. You can't go to school here anymore, or you have to go to somewhere else, or you have to go to reform school, or you have to be, you have to be diverted into a special program. But now we just let crazy people just walk amongst us until they catch a felony, even if they're 6 or 7 years old. And it's like, it's this seems to me, it's almost like the gun walking stuff uh, that the Obama administration allowed to happen. They let these guns go across the border in Mexico. They're not controlled. They create chaos. They kill people. Then eventually, when it creates enough chaos and they're traced back to being American guns, that they had planned on using that as a motive to enact more strict gun control in the United States. And you just feel like they let crazy people walk around us to do all this stuff, and then when bad shit happens, they use it to push their agendas as opposed to being tough on crime. Like it just this, I I'm getting to a point in life that I'm questioning the motivations of all these people. I don't get it. I don't understand how people can take this.
No, well, right away we have to blame the gun. Like the liberals always do. It's a mental health issue. People will why they don't want to address it. I'll never know.
Okay, if it's a men, okay, all right. I'm a conservative, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm a conservative, right? All right.
Uh,
If I mean, well, wait a minute. Hold, you don't think I'm a conservative?
wait, I was
At
just
least I never dressed as drag. I never dressed in drag in Brazil.
well, well, I've dressed in drag, but not in Brazil. you know, I before we get into George, I'm I have a nice slap mark right across my face from this morning. I told Mrs. Danny a joke and she didn't appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
You want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Well, in working on the river Styx, I work with a lot of the construction types. Well, the construction types, let's just say, I don't want to call them vulgar, but they always come up with good ones. I'll leave it at that. So they told me one, and of course, I had to come home and repeat it. So I go to Mrs. Danny and I said, "Hey, are your legs fighting?" And she says, "What?" I said, "Are your legs fighting?" And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Well, I could help keep them apart." She, she didn't. She didn't appreciate that.
Bap, right in the face.
And it's not dirty. It's unless you have a dirty mind like us. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a dirty mind. My mind is as clean as the undriven snow.
you
Okay,
are full
so
of shit. I'll say it. But
I'm the guy that cursed so bad in front of the army people that they complained. I'm like, really? I'm like, fucking really?
yeah, well,
What
I
the
haven't
fuck?
seen your face on back of a milk carton, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was no wonder. But anyway,
Actually,
let's
I
get back
officially received two complaints about my language from from
let's get
my
back to
interactions with the army.
let's get back let's get back to George. I don't know if that was him in that picture of a drag queen. I don't know if it's just the press running with more rumors or what. I've been
I
busy. I
have
really
I
don't know.
have an update since you've been busy on the River Styx. You haven't seen all the stuff. He has now come. There's so many photographs, and there's even like there's even where he I might have been on Wikipedia or did something and gave an interview or wrote some information describing his background. He has now come out and said something to the effect of, I was just having fun. He basically is taking what we would call the Thailand clause. Like, hey, I'm just in Thailand and I didn't know I was in Soy Cowboy and I didn't know it was a chicks with sticks. I just, hey, went in Thailand, and it's just like, dude, you just keep on digging. Like, you just, like, come on. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm just a guy having fun. Why y'all being? It's like, whatever, dude. Look,
Um, Maybe that picture was taken on Trick or Treat. Who knows?
I saw a video of him walking through an airport, and they were chasing after him. And I have to admit, he had a little bit of a sachet to his fucking stride. I'm looking at that, and I'm like, yeah, that's not a guy that's spent a lot of time. I don't know, swinging an axe handle or
Well,
something.
here's my question for you. Doesn't this put the liberals and the left in a quandary where they're always, saying everybody's accepted, needs to be accepted for how they are, what they do, whatever. Well, now here's a right wing Republican, albeit whatever his past is. Are they going to accept him for what he is? So I'm anxious to see this one.
Well, okay. So you'll notice you'll know what is reported is just as important as what is not reported. You will notice that the media doesn't seem to be taking the track of this guy's super crazy and the Republicans are super crazy and this is how out of control the Republicans are and this is all their fault. And the reason is, and I don't remember if you and I talked about this on pod or not, but two failures. Well, there's really three failures. The two big failures with this Santos guy is number one, the McCain-Feingold Act has really reduced the power of the parties. Like the parties don't really have the ability to enforce with money, supporting candidates if they behave in certain ways or punishing candidates if they don't behave in other ways. It's really taken away the power of the party. So then you get a guy like this. He pops up in this district that turns out to be a super expensive district to advertise in. the local media, whatever ABC, NBC, CBS affiliates out there, and wherever he's at in Long Island, didn't do a deep dive on him while he was running. Like if they had figured this out while he was running, all these lies, it would have been page one, first top of the story, 5 minutes, top of the fold of the broadcast, right? And they would have wiped the floor with his ass to help the Democrats. But the local media didn't catch it because the local television is so poor now, and investigations are so poor. And you would think also that in a primary, like if I was running as a Republican in Long Island, like in Long Island, they would think I would be Attila the Hun. But if I was running against this guy, and I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I'd be like, Danny, go dig up some shit on this guy. We got to beat this motherfucker. But no, but they didn't do that. But here's why they're not coming after the Republicans. Is it is it McCarthy, right? He's now Speaker
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
McCarthy's office, when he was still he was the minority leader. He is the person that basically determines how, where to send money for the Republican National Congressional Campaign, or the RCCC, Republican Congressional Campaign Committee. And they had done a preliminary investigation on this guy because it was like, hey, we got people running because they're trying to get people. He's trying to become speaker, so he's got to put money. He's telling the RCCC to put money in various campaigns where they have the best chance, so he can get a majority, so he can be speaker, right?
All right.
They had looked at this guy just preliminarily, and they literally were like, back the fuck off of him. It didn't take them very long. They're like, you'll notice the McCarthy people and the RCCC people, they didn't give him any money. They weren't backing him one bit because they were like, there's problems here. And they weren't that interested, but they were like, a lot of what he's saying about himself is not true. We gone. And he still ended up winning. So the media can't hang this on the Republicans, and I guess you could make an argument that the Democrats are so bad in New York that it's literally like, it's the argument why Donald Trump got elected. Donald Trump should never have actually been elected president, conventionally speaking. But Hillary Clinton was so bad and brought so many negatives, preconceived notions. They've been hearing about Hillary Clinton for 15 years. And yeah, 20 years, 92. So 91, they probably started campaigning. Yeah, 20 years they've been hearing about Hillary and all the shit with Hillary. That people were just like, I am not voting for her. Click. I don't give a fuck who this crazy fucking Republican guy. I don't know shit about him. Like, he's not a real Republican. He's a New York billionaire. Whatever. Click. I'll vote. I'm gonna vote for him over Hillary. Well, that's apparently what happened out there in Long Island. Is people were like, I will not vote for a Democrat out here. I've heard Long Island's conservative. Parts of it are.
I don't know. I've never been there. I was in New York City once, one day, and I couldn't wait to get out.
I actually might have to go to New Jersey this year. But actually, here's another political topic I wanted to share with you because I thought you would find it interesting. I don't think it got a lot of coverage, but this is real life, and people that work in Congress, whether you're in the Senate or you're in the House, they know this. Like a lot of senators tend to be older. That's a fair statement.
You
Senators
think?
tend to be older in age, in generally speaking, and young congressmen tend to be a little bit younger. But the leadership in the House still can be older. Um, if you don't have a large majority, that you always have some people like, oh, senator, or like Senator so and so is out because he's having surgery. Congressman so and so you know, got thrown from a horse and is in a hospital, so he can't show up. Or Congresswoman so and so, she's going to be out for the next few weeks because she's had a baby. Like, so if you have a very slim majority, there's apparently a congressman from Florida who fell off his roof the other day. And like it was so bad, like the Amazon delivery driver found him. And I don't know if he's walking and talking or if he's in a coma. But when you look at a GOP house, how much of a
Full art.
majority does McCarthy have? Is it 4 or 5?
Right.
You get a congressman that's out because he fell off a roof. You get a congressman that's out because she's having an ultrasound that day, and then you get a couple congressmen that are they're on a junket somewhere, and he doesn't have enough people to technically hold a majority to do certain things. I mean, it's so close. He's got to be super careful with a lot of this stuff. And
Well,
I thought that was an interesting data point.
a little caveat to that is as part of McCarthy's agreement, and with the new rules for this Congress, there is no more proxy vote. You have to be there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I heard about. There it is. See, that's why chief political correspondent Danny. Hmm?
Wait a minute. I thought I was foreman on a chain gang. I mean, road crew.
You're the boatman on the River Styx,
You
apparently.
know, I got my roofer's card, covers everything.
So, a couple of things. The SHOT Show happened last week, and I know you've been so busy, you don't really see a whole lot of stuff from the SHOT Show. But
No,
I
but
wanted to
I thought that you were going to go and tag me along, but I guess not. Maybe next
I
year.
I I used to work SHOT. I literally worked behind a booth. The SHOT Show, I don't know if it's still the case, but it used to be broken up into, I will call it the sporting section and then the law enforcement section. I always worked a booth on the law enforcement side. I mean, so I would get there when they're setting up, and then I would leave when they were done, and it was just, I mean, it's a lot. It's really a lot, and I just have never gotten the energy to go back. And John 1911, just, we could go, but look, the truth is now, like, tell you this, I used to work SHOT Show when it ping ponged back and forth between Tampa, Florida,
Vegas.
and Vegas. It used to be every other year, a couple years here, a couple years there. And what happened was, eventually it got to be so big, Florida couldn't really handle it anymore. So so now it's in Vegas all the time. But the thing that's changed now is, and this is a good thing. Like, if you look at all the YouTubers and internet people that go to SHOT Show, and they do videos and they do articles and they do interviews, it's literally like you're at SHOT Show. Like, everybody in America can just, like, oh, just turn on their computer and be like, oh, what's it happening at SHOT Show today? And you can literally see almost everything there is in real time. And it's super impressive. Like, I see more stuff being home now, just looking at SHOT Show coverage on the internet, than I ever did walking and working the show, because you can't see the whole show. If you
Right.
and I think a lot of people that have never been to SHOT, or especially worked it, you know, like, actually worked it, like, ooh, because it's supposed to be an industry trade show. Like, you're not supposed to be able to go there unless you're part of the industry. But most of the people walking around don't fucking work in shit. They're not part of it. They know somebody, and they get a credential when they walk around. But all these people banging into you at SHOT Show, they're never going to place orders for FFLs. They're never going to negotiate contracts. They're never going to be, hey, we want to be an exclusive dealership, or we want to set up a dealer relationship for our store. 90% of the people walking around that show have no business to be there, no business being there at all. So, but they're not trying to be whatever. But there's some interesting things that came out. Like, what is it? There's the the Army has the new rifle, the M5, that they're supposedly going to be using. It's called I think we call it the Spear. I think SIG Sauer makes it, and it's called the Spear rifle. It's a version of the MCX rifles. It's called the Spear, and it's in, like, 277 Fury. Well, the Spear rifle, it's kind of a piston AR driven gun, but it's kind of like an AR-10 sized gun, like a 308 sized gun. So you can easily convert it to 308. Well, SIG is now going to sell this rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor. And I'll be honest with you, like, I'd like to have an M5 in the armory. We don't need 277 right now because, one, you really can't get the ammo, and two, it would just burn holes in our plates. But like a 6.5 Creedmoor, that
That's
we could convert later if we needed to.
that's
That
interesting.
that's super interesting. Again, is it vaporware? Can you really get them? Is it going to be like 5 grand? Like, I don't know about that.
Do you have experience with a 6.5? I don't.
Very minimal. Doc has a 6.5 Creedmoor in what's Doc's gun? He's got two guns in 6.5. He's got the SIG Cross in 6.5, a little hunting gun is what he uses it for, and then he's got a bigger gun. It's just escaping me. It's a Christensen Arms bolt gun, and that's a nice gun. That's a real nice gun. I should eventually get a 6.5 for Blaser. Even like maybe have a Blaser tactical 2 barrel made in 6.5 because it's a 308 footprint, and I've got all my 308 mags would work. That would be interesting. But here's another interesting thing that and you'll understand this one, Danny. So Danny,
Like,
you understand how police departments are limited as to to what they will allow officers to do to their duty guns because there's a liability because they have to carry liability insurance through the city,
yes,
right? Like you can't, like it has to be, a lot of times it's OEM equipment. Well, one of the things that, like if you're a department and you're carrying, if you've got Glock pistols, and people will complain about Glock triggers, and the Gen 5s have a perfectly fine trigger in them. They're really pretty good. But Glock has now come out this year with what they call a match trigger. It's an aftermarket, technically you call it an aftermarket trigger, but you can buy this trigger from Glock, put it in your, put it in your Glock pistol, and you have a more, like a nicer trigger upgrade. And there's so many companies that make triggers for Glocks or modify them. The battle days, dudes would modify them, and that would cause problems. But PDs could never touch this shit because it doesn't matter how great your Apex trigger is. It doesn't matter how great your Ghost trigger is. That is not an OEM trigger, and any decently sized police department will never sign off on that unless they can get insurance to cover it. And a lot of times, even if you're like, well, they're recognized as an industry leader and whatever, you get the liability companies carrying, to cover these police officers, and they're going to be like, "Is that a Glock trigger?" And like, no, but it's just they're like, miss me with it. The fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
oh,
Glock
boy,
has now decided that they're going to make an aftermarket, what I would call it's an OEM aftermarket trigger, and I am super curious if I were Apex or Ghost Trigger or any of these companies, man, I'd be shaking in my boots today.
I'm sure
I'd
because
be
if it's
shaking.
all, excuse me, if it's OEM, that'll put them out of business. It's also ironic is I know several smaller departments outside of the city that they let their officers carry what they want. And it's really, I mean, literally, I know two officers in one department. One still carries a 357 revolver, and one carries a 45 1911.
Oh yeah, we've got I know two police departments in the greater Cincinnati area that authorize 1911s. Which most people wouldn't believe, but they do. Like I know I know some people that are carrying Les Bears. I know some people carrying 2011s. I know a police chief that's carrying a 1911. Their default is their
If you could,
default.
yeah, if you could qualify, you're good.
Yeah, their default is you have to qualify with it, but these are not large 1,000-person department like since the city of Cincinnati. They're M&Ps, and it's like they have a list of guns you're authorized to use, but these smaller departments, they have a little bit more leeway. But like, yeah, these this Glock trigger thing, I thought that was super interesting. Something else that came out that I'm paying attention to it. Like there's all these I got the red dot sights on the Wilson X9L gun. I got red dot sights on my ARs or my tac rifles, the SIG 551. Like the truck guns, you see all those little red dot sights. This company called Holosun And I've never used Holosun. They're a American company, but I think the stuff's all made in China. And it's considered cheaper stuff, at least it used to be. And I noticed the past couple of years that people that, are that I would respect, that are in the training business or in the industry, that are like, man, some of these new Holosuns are good to go on durability, even though they're made in China. And it's like that's gotten my attention. But apparently, Holosun has come out with a red dot or multiple red dots at this SHOT Show that also function as thermal and or night vision. It might even be fusion, a combination of both. And that is super interesting to
It'd
me.
probably be super pricey too.
Well, but Holosun doesn't sell $3,000 guns or $3,000 optics or $5,000 optics. Like the thing is, like a lot of these, I have a need for thermal or night vision. Like I like to shoot coyotes at the John 1911 range at night, and we get the SWAT guys that show up out there, and they've got the snipers. Well, actually, not even the assaulters. They've all got helmet mounted night vision. They have clip on devices on their tactical sniper, on their sniper or their scope. So, like, they've got stuff that, shit costs 15, 25, $30,000. And it's
Wow.
like, yeah, that's cool. I love it, but it's like, we're not paying that. Like, I have no reason to justify that. We don't sell it. We don't, so I've been waiting for thermal and night vision to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper enough to justify that I could just bolt something onto a Blaser rifle and then call in coyotes. And we are about there. I think we're getting under $2,000 now on some of this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting.
Oh, that
So
sure makes my ghost ring sight pretty primitive, doesn't it?
yeah, the thing is, coyotes are so smart, you can't get that close to them. There's people that do. Like we have, like one of the snipers we know. He's like the coyote whisperer. But it's better to be able to call him in from a distance. And like at the rifle, with John 911 rifle range, you can see 500-600 yards. You put an animal call out there on the rifle range, you have known distances. Like it's a kill zone. Like we could knock the hell out of them. And I'll tell you what, we have a lot of coyotes out there. It's scary. Like at night,
Really?
like I don't care how much of a badass you are. You're out there and you hear them running down a deer, and you don't hear like five coyotes. It sounds like 40 of them. And then you'll hear a group at the next farm and like 30 of them over there howling at the shit at the back of our farm. And you're sitting there going, my God, I might be surrounded by 70 coyotes tonight. And that's like, I've only got 36 rounds on me, in my pistol. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's a lot of dog. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean? Like,
is.
that's a lot of dog. And so I'd like to knock them back a little bit. So
Well, yeah. The thing of it is out there where you're at, you can imagine in the city. There's our coyotes in my area, but of course, you can't shoot the gun in the city or this or that. But it's it's getting. Oh, speaking about in Illinois, a judge granted a temporary restraining order against the governor's new gun ban and saying, no, this is illegal. And right away, the state of Illinois is appealing it up to the Illinois Supreme Court.
I expected that. You know more about than I do, but you sent over the list of all the guns. Like it even had a PE-57 on it. It's like, really? Um,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
yeah, they're passing these laws and knowing that they're not constitutional. Well, you know what? We might as well talk about this one too. Um, the ATF has come out with a rule change, and they basically want to get rid of the pistol braces. And I've had a number of people reach out wanting to know what we think about this, or what maybe not what they should do, but just they're looking for guidance or just opinions. You can tell they're looking for just some air cover. And I have to preface it with a couple of things. The first thing I say is, um, we've never owned a braced pistol. We've never owned a pistol brace. We've never attached a a brace pistol or, like just it's just not something we do. And when it first came out, where I used to work, we were like, yeah, we're not touching this with someone else's dick. Like we're like it was just like no, we're not no. Like I don't this brace thing seems kind of specious. And, I left that company and went and started my own deal. And a number of years later, I'm talking to my former coworkers, and they're all like, "Hey, those brace pistols are pretty cool. Like they're all running them." And it's like, "Oh, really? That's interesting." So and I get it. And so, but my one of my problems with the pistol brace is the pistol brace doesn't exist in statute. You know, the
Well,
ATF, the ATF.
either does a bump stock if you want to go there.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, 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 no. This is a different situation. The ATF, somebody came up with the idea of a pistol brace to put onto a pistol because legitimately they had somebody who I think was a former soldier, probably blown up in Iraq or something, and the dude only had one arm, and they invented this device they could strap to his arm so he could shoot this gun. And they submitted to the ATF like, can we put this on this AR pistol so this disabled guy can shoot this gun? That's what started this. And the ATF was like, yeah, that's fine. This brace is acceptable. Well, it didn't take too long until people figured out if I put this disabled person product that was made legal through letter of the ATF, and I can just put it up against my shoulder and shoot it like a stock, that this is still legal. And then the argument was, well, I'm not manufacturing a short barrel rifle by putting up against my shoulder. I'm not manufacturing it. It's still a pistol. And watch your microphone. And um, and I get it, but all these people that are I these people that are like, I hate how the ATF just comes up with arbitrary rules to do things. And it's like, by the way, if you've ever put a pistol brace on a pistol, you are literally full of shit because your justification for this pistol brace is from a bullshit letter from the ATF. And my argument's always been the ATF giveth and the ATF taketh away. Now, I'm not supporting banning pistol braces. All I'm saying is a lot of people wanting to get into arguments with the ATF is like trying to get into an argument with a serial killer. Okay? These people will kill you. They're going to find a reason to try to kill you. The ATF has decided that they want to take back the short barreled rifle argument, and they're going to do it. They've decided this is the hill they're going to die on. And you can try to wishy washy your way and argue with them all you want. But the only way you're going to win this is you're going to have to go after them in court, and you're going to have to win this one the hard way. This is not, you know, and 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 some of the people, like they talk about, um, like some people say there's 2 million of these braces in circulation, and some people say there's 40 million, and
Wow.
it's like okay, well, okay, like okay, I'm not saying there aren't 40 million braces in America because there's 400 million guns apparently, or 360 million, whatever. There's more guns than our people. I think there's 360 million people in America. I'd say there's 400 million guns. Okay, if the average pistol brace is $50, I think I did the number. Are you telling me that they have sold $2 billion worth of pistol braces in this country? I'm like, maybe, but I would like, because I'm sure if there's some business out there that's got to show profit and loss and is paying taxes on income, and they're paying payroll taxes, and there's $2 billion of sales of pistol braces. It's like I, as a business person, I'm like, you're gonna have to show me the fucking numbers. I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Well,
Now,
it might be hard because they cut the funding for those 48,000 IRS agents.
yeah, but my point is, it's like lying, lying for my side. And people that are repeating this number aren't lying, but they're conveniently not fact checking the stuff here.
Okay,
Now,
here's my question. Does a pistol brace have to be sold through FFL?
no, it's a non regulated item.
Well, then how would you? Here's my next question. How could you ever possibly know how many are truly out there then?
That's a yeah. That's yeah. That's a
Other,
yeah.
other,
That's exact.
other than going to the pistol brace company and looking at their records of sales loss, this, that, and all the other thing, how could you ever possibly know?
The first company I think that made the pistol brace was called SB Tactical. And then I think they were bought by SIG or somehow involved with SIG. I think SB might mean no, SB might mean stabilizing brace, not SIG brace. But then other companies were knocking them off and making them too. But it's just like, all right. So now let's get to the let's like I'm not interested in getting into an argument with the ATF over this kind of shit because it's like whatever. You're not going to win. It's they're fucking serial killers, and so let's just move on and let's go to court because the just in case you don't know, Danny, the reason people want these pistol braces is if you take an AR pistol and you want to turn it into want to put a stock on it, you have to pay a $200 tax stamp, and you have to go through the NFA background check. Bless you. You go through the NFA background check, and wait. You could wait a year or longer to get approved. It's just like getting a suppressor or machine gun.
Right.
And then there's these restrictions on how it moves, whereas you can literally buy a pistol brace through the mail, stick it on your pistol, and it's still technically a pistol. And there's even people carrying and transporting AR pistols across state lines or in their vehicles under the permit of their concealed carry pistol permit. Like most of the time, when someone has a CCW license, technically doesn't have a concealed carry weapons license. They typically have a concealed carry handgun or a concealed carry pistol. Legally speaking, like I think in Ohio, you would not technically be allowed to conceal a rifle or a short barreled rifle, because it's still a rifle, on your CCW permit, because it's a pistol permit. You see how like this is getting to be a mess.
Oh,
Like
yeah, it
it's
is.
a huge thing.
Well, it's just like certain states, that don't accept other states' CCW and stuff. I know when I'm traveling, I've actually had to put stuff into the trunk as I went through that little part of that state because I just didn't trust it.
Yeah, because you have most states have requirements on transport requirements. Separating ammo, the gun,
Right.
not so your driver can't get to it, whatever. Um, and then the other thing is people are like, okay, if I submit the information as the ATF is requesting, and I'm not claiming I know how everything that they're requesting from people, but they want photographs, I guess, and some other stuff. And it's like, I'm admitting to being, is this a trap? Like if I give the if I give the BATFE or the ATF the information that they are requesting, am I setting myself up to being prosecuted later for various reasons they want to give? And it's like, okay, this it's a trap, and this has become the big buzz thing lately. Is it's a trap, it's a trap. Don't do whatever. It's a trap, it's a trap. And I'm like, y'all need to cool your jets a little bit because this whole idea of it being a trap existed in 1934, happened in 1968, happened in 1986, and this is why you see situations where people had machine guns, they were legal, and now they're not registered, and if they get caught with them, they have to be destroyed. You know what I mean? Because people didn't trust the government. And I'm not saying trust the government. I'm not saying that one bit. All I'm saying is it would be pretty difficult in court to do what the government says under penalty of prosecution. And then they turn around and you get prosecuted for doing what they say. That's going to be a pretty easy argument to win in court. Now, that again, that's an affirmative defense. You have to be arrested and do whatever. The reality is that's not where this is going to go. The real battle here is this isn't going to stand. There's going to be a challenge. There's going to be judges issuing a stay or restraining orders or TROs, and this is going to be fought. And then the same arguments under is it Bruin the case with basically where the Supreme Court's like the AR-15 is in common use. Like this is not an exotic crazy gun. The right of the people shall not be infringed. Firearms. If there's half as many braces, if there's 7 million braces in this country, not 40, you can easily make an argument. You can easily make an argument that this is in common use. This is not. This isn't some weird exotic whatever item that somehow poses a threat to society.
It's a good point. And I also agree that the judges will be issuing stays on this.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, like so people that are coming to me, I'm not giving you legal advice. You know, I'm not saying don't contact the ATF and reach out to them about your shit because it's a trap. I'm saying if there's 40 million of these fucking things in the country, how about you let 100,000 other people go first and see what happens?
Yep.
Back up off this, see what happens, and make informed decisions. You don't have to be the first person to jump in the frying pan in the fire from the frying pan on this
Right.
kind of stuff. And, the whole idea of short-barreled rifle is logically flawed. So the argument is a short-barreled rifle needs to be is in the interest of the government to the interest of the government to uh, um,
Regulate.
regulate short-barrel rifles
That's why you
for
got me.
yeah, their interest of the government to regulate short-barreled rifles in interest of public safety. That's the argument. It's like, okay, because they're small weapons. Handguns, handguns are just as small. And the original NFA, people are suddenly now realizing, wait a minute, the original NFA law was actually trying to go after handguns. And in 1934, because of all the organized crime, the bootleggers, and they were like, wait a minute, if you're going to ban handguns, who's going to take someone from taking a rifle and cutting it down real short and just carrying that legally? Like, we got to create short-barreled rifle. And then at the last minute, they pulled handguns. They pulled handguns out of it. So like, we can't ban handguns in America. Like that's the most common weapon. You can't ban handguns. So they pulled that out. Short-barreled rifles stayed in, which was really just created as a way to close a loophole if you wanted to get around pistols, which they ended up not banning or controlling. And then now short barrel rifles somehow turned into this thing that's more dangerous because it's small and it's a rifle. No, it wasn't being regulated because it was a rifle. It was being regulated because it turned into basically a pistol, which they turns out they didn't regulate. And here's the other one. Like we have people today, people make the argument on both sides like modern sporting rifle. Well, it's not an assault rifle, it's a modern sporting rifle. Assault rifle or is assault weapon doesn't exist. Assault rifle exists. Yeah, assault weapon and all the semantic bullshit on both sides. You're going to redefine the language and then you got to play the game. Again, you're in the argument where you're trying to negotiate with the serial killer murderer who's just trying to fucking kill you. Okay? Because what everybody forgets, the under the NFA, the National Firearms Act, which is what I call it the machine gun law, suppressor machine guns, destructive devices, explosives, cannons, rockets, missiles, all that shit, right? There was a guy, I think it was Miller, and he was arrested. He was arrested for having an unregistered short-barreled shotgun. He was arrested, and he was like, "You cannot, shall not be infringed." You know, This isn't, you can't, and he's challenging the NFA, all these machine gun laws, which is what all this stuff, all these pistol braces is all under the NFA. And he challenged it under the short barrel shotgun. I think it was the Supreme Court ruled he lost. He lost the case. His conviction was upheld because the court said that under the Constitution and the Second Amendment, the right of a militia, or like the Second Amendment, talks about militia, then it says the right of the people shall not be infringed. The
Right.
court said militia in the Second Amendment means military weapons. And it said a shotgun is not a military weapon, and so therefore you're convicted because you don't have standing under the Second Amendment because a shotgun's a sporting civilian gun, not a military weapon. So just think about this. People get into these bullshit arguments playing with language, and they have completely flipped all this shit around. And now you're to the point you have people the last 30 years. We don't need people with military style assault weapons. We don't need people with the same weapons of war. It's like
Right.
we're literally a dude was convicted of an NFA violation because his gun was not a military weapon. That was 70 years ago. And it's like, what in the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's all out of control. You know,
It's crazy. It's crazy. Holy cow! We're at the 1 hour mark already.
I think we're at 50 minutes, 51 minutes.
Is that it? Wow, we're
Yeah.
moving. We're moving along good, and
We're,
we've got politics, shot show. What else have we got on the burners today?
yeah, Danny and I made a we make this promise at the beginning of every podcast. We're like, dude, we can't do 2 hours. We can't do 2 hours. And then
Yeah,
we end up doing 2 hours. Um,
the blood pact.
the blood pact, yeah. Well, apparently there's a story that came out that there is a new super strength gonorrhea strain floating around that is you know that is uh resistant to antibiotics. I guess it's gonorrhea antibiotics. Luckily, I've never had gonorrhea. I guess, but it's like holy shit, like you read that, you're like, damn, like first it's the bat bug. Now it's like, what the hell are you assholes doing out there, fucking bats? Now you have drug resistant gonorrhea strains. How does that even happen?
Uh, where do you dig this stuff up from? I mean, gonorrhea strains, and I haven't had my porridge yet. It's no, but I what was I going to say? Oh, speaking of not gonorrhea strains, but I see you guys got a little bit of snow.
But we
We
got
got we got nothing.
yeah, we got over 6 inches here. Like I didn't even know we were getting snow. I literally woke up and looked outside and was like, what the hell? What's all this going on? So
Well, fire up that tractor.
yeah, the tractor is at the range and I don't have a way to move it. So I know in a perfect world, I'd like to be able to have it to clean the parking lot and do whatever, but we can't move the tractor right now. So we literally pay somebody to clean the parking lot.
Has it
So
all? Has it all melted? Or is it going to get warmed or melted? I haven't even
it
seen
no,
the
it, it's
weather.
it was snowing 15 minutes ago. It's been snowing here still this morning, light flurries. Yeah.
Really?
So
We didn't get nothing.
yeah, it's bizarre because typically you get it, then we get it here in Ohio.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't know if this thing surprised everybody or if it just surprised me, but it was just like, holy cow! Hey, did you hear Alec Baldwin got charged?
Yes, yes. There's a good story. I I am very, very surprised. But then again, the shooting didn't occur in California. And I don't know if the New Mexico district attorney that charged him actually thinks she has a case, or is it uh, notoriety? I'm trying to read
She's got
between the lines on this one.
Was it voluntary or it's involuntary manslaughter is what he
Involuntary
was.
manslaughter, because the charge was, well, him and the armorer were both charged with the same charge, and part of the statement said that they should have both known, and he should have checked negligence on his part.
Okay, I think the charge for him is appropriate. I think she is probably been undercharged because she's supposed to be the expert. And here's something I think is interesting. Like you see all these people, like this is a thing in like pop culture right now. They call it Nepo babies, nepotism. Like the children of famous actors and the
Right.
children of famous politicians who are getting jobs that the rest of us don't normally get a chance to get. This woman who's the armorer on this thing. Her name is Gutierrez, I think, possibly. If I could be misremembering that. She is apparently the daughter of a very famous gun prop guy in Hollywood, and she doesn't seem like she's qualified for shit. She's in this job because she's the daughter of some dude. And you even look
Ah.
at her stuff and like the way she behaves. And she's even talked about how she's like, I'm really having a hard time. She should have been nowhere near any of this. And, this is like, well, Bubba knows whatever. And so we're going to hire Bubba's daughter. And, she's going to get hammered. She's going to get hammered. Um,
Well,
but
Baldwin's attorney did say that they're going to fight it. The charges are erroneous. You get about, talking about the notoriety, of the Nepo people or whatever. Baldwin's attorney says it's basically for the district attorney to try to get her notoriety. And they're all passing it off on the political thing.
well, okay, number one, bullshit. Because look, he was holding a gun and he pulled the trigger, and somebody got shot. We know all across the country that there's accidents that happen with firearms. Some of them are you're like, but for the grace of God. And some of them are like you were asking for it. And minimum, it's involuntary manslaughter or negligent homicide. And there's no way in America that you're going to have a loaded gun in your hand and pull the trigger and not be at least somewhat culpable if somebody gets hurt. Because I could easily turn around and say, Mr. Baldwin, how many movies have you been a part of where there's been gun used? Mr. Baldwin, how many times have you gone through training on how to manage or use guns on a movie set from other prop masters? Mr. Baldwin, is this the first movie you've ever used with a gun? Mr. Baldwin, is this the first time you've ever touched a gun? Mr. Baldwin, is this the first movie prop gun you've ever fired? Mr. Baldwin, and he's got to tell the truth, or I'll start pulling up movie clips of him with guns. And it's like, how come so and so didn't get shot over here? Or Mr. Baldwin, were you aware of people had loaded ammo on set and were shooting the guns? Well, if you were aware, what did you say or what didn't you say? Mr. Baldwin, did you participate in the shooting of live ammo on the set of these? And it comes out
Right.
like, oh yeah, he's like, I've been in 8 cowboy movies. I watch this, everybody. Like, I don't know all the facts here, but if I was an attorney, man, I could just bury and bury and bury and bury him. But one thing I'm not too hip on is, you know, a lot of people on our side, because it's Alec Baldwin, he's a douchebag. And so it's like, get him. But you know what?
Oh,
If this was like they'd want him to go to jail for life. But if this was Tom Selleck and it was his movie, and he was on our side of the spectrum, and it was just some crazy freak accident for a lineup of the same reasons. How many people that would be like burn Alec Baldwin to the ground would be like they wouldn't want to burn Tom Selleck to the ground?
no, it
Like
was an accident.
I don't know what the delta is between the two, but I'm pretty confident there would be somewhat of a delta. And if there's a delta between the two, you need to check your bullshit a little bit. So I'm not. Look, he's a douchebag, and Alec Baldwin is like this. You can tell he's got this weird Hollywood logic because he literally, first he came, I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. It's like, uh huh. Yeah, well, mechanically, we're going to be able to figure out this gun works right or not. And then the second thing is, it's like he came out and he said, if I was guilty of this, I would have killed myself. And that's somebody emotionally who had their way to argue is to up the ante, up the ante, up the ante, up the ante. They push and they push and they push and they push. And it's like, I would have killed myself. Like this indignant. It's like the kind of people like, if Donald Trump is elected president, I'm going to leave the country. It's like,
All right.
guess what? You didn't do that shit either. It's like, stop with the drama. Let's
Well,
just keep it to the facts.
here's what I'm betting. Here is what I'm betting going forward. Number one, how did live rounds make it into a movie set? Number one. Number two, I'll bet you there are now on movie sets all kinds of regulations of check, double check, and triple check any type of ammunition, prop
Dude, there
guns,
have been
whatever.
regulations on how to handle firearms on movie sets. The big change happened when Brandon Lee got shot on a movie set.
Right,
Bruce Lee's son was killed on a movie set.
right,
And what happened was they had, it was a revolver, if I recall. This was 20 some, 30 years ago. It was a revolver. I think it was a 44, but it was a revolver. And in a revolver, you can, when you have a tight shot, a tight camera shot, everyone that's a gun person knows you can see the bullets in the chambers, in the charge holes. So if you have a tight camera shot and the gun isn't loaded, it's you can tell. Like Bruce Willis, John McClane, like there's some type bad guy, good guy scene, and the guy's holding the gun up, and you can see into the gun. A revolver, you can literally see into it. So what they did is they took dummy rounds that didn't have any powder in them, and maybe no primers, or maybe they had a primer in them, but they had dummy rounds they put in the gun for a tight scene. And then what had happened was one of those dummy rounds wasn't he somehow had become dislodged out of the casing and ended up right into the forcing cone into the barrel. Okay, when they unloaded the gun, and so they took all the shells out, and they're like, okay, let's put the blanks in and let's do the shooting sequence. And they loaded it with blanks, and then they, okay, in action, and the guy's holding the gun with the blank, and he pulls the trigger, and what you had here is you had a blank cartridge with powder in it and a primer that's going to make a flash and a bang, and then lodged between the forcing cone and the barrel, but out of the cylinder, I believe, is a bullet sitting there, and just a bullet by itself, the actual bullet, not the entire shell, the bullet. And that was a combination, and then the freaking bullet went flying out of that gun with enough pressure, and it shot Brandon Lee and killed him. That really caused a huge stink about how they handle guns on movie sets. And like, you got to look down the barrels, you got to look down the charge holes. If live ammo shows up, you got to shut it all down, and you got to recertify everything, and like it. But it's expensive, and it's time consuming, and it's a pain in the ass, and it's not fun. They know for a fact it'll come out the trial, but so it's not a fact yet. But the stories that have been told is between shoots on this movie set that Alec Baldwin was on, is members of the crew would take these guns, which were real guns, load ammo in them, and go out on fence posts, and they would have little impromptu shooting sessions. And so real ammo was moving around on that set. And that's
really.
how it happened. And then you get into the situation where you're like, what does a dummy round look like? Do you mark your dummy rounds? So, like, if you open it up and you look at the primers, are they marked in a certain way so you can tell you've been trained on revolvers? The camera can't see it, the audience can't see it, but you should be able to look at the back of one of these rounds and be like, like the Cowboys loading. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get Billy Bob, and he's sliding rounds into his charge holes. And that, he come back here, kills my sheep. I'm gonna come out and kill his cows. But on the back of that primer, there should be a way on those dummy rounds for people to be able to tell that that's not a real round. And like all of this is screwed up, and all of that falls onto that armorer.
Well, plus the chain of possession. I mean, we're going out going to shoot fence
Well,
posts, but
there was no there apparently there wasn't even good change of possession of how these guns. Anybody could pick up a gun and just run off and do shit with it, and bring it back. They literally apparently found loaded ammo laying down with the guns with blank ammo or dummy rounds. Like it's crazy. It's like I could easily, as an attorney, make a point and be like, "So, Mr. Baldwin, was there anything different about how guns were handled? You've been in Hollywood for a long time. And guns were handled on this set versus other sets. You didn't notice that? So I don't think Alec Baldwin's going to go to jail. Like he's not going to jail. Like I don't know. He may get something. Like
uh,
he may get a little bit of something or community service or whatever. But he's going to end up writing a big check to the husband and the child of the woman that died, so
right.
to basically pay for the rest of their lives and lost income and whatever.
So
Like
you don't think he's going to jail and going to be butt baked?
no, like he's already been preparing. The word is he's been preparing because he's been selling off assets. He
Really?
apparently he sold at least one house because they're anticipating a judgment or maybe legal fees. I don't know. So
Mm, I was going to say, too bad he didn't do a little bit of time, and George Santos could be his celly, and that would be that would be interesting conversation.
yeah, George Santos isn't going. Well, I don't. You know what? I don't know because George Santos, they can't. This is the drag queen Republican. They can't figure out where he got his money from. He
It,
apparently, I think, put $700,000 into his campaign. Or like, where did he get 700 G's from?
I seen that because he was broke the day before. Then all of a sudden he's got money. So
Yeah,
somebody kicked in somewhere.
yeah. Somebody kicked in somewhere. So, oh, okay. We're gonna do a police blotter because this is gonna be a full episode. Then we're gonna toss it. So, are you ready for the police blotter?
Yeah, with bated breath.
Okay, with bated breath. So I have a theory about if you want to lower crime in your area, get rid of your McDonald's, get rid of your post office, and get rid of your Walmart in your jurisdiction, and you will drop crime 20% in your area. And this first story comes out of Canada. There is a McDonald's in Canada that is closing because there are fights breaking out there all the time. There have been 900 calls for service for fights at this McDonald's in Canada that they're finally going to close. And it's like, McDonald's, Walmart, and the post office bring more criminals into a jurisdiction than anything else. And I thought that was the first interesting one.
Makes sense.
The second one, and you would think this would be the third one because I usually get whatever. This is a story out of Kentucky. There's a woman. She's a grandmother. Her husband is sick. I think he's got cancer, and she was taking him to hospice. And on the way to hospice, she was killed by a falling Denny's sign in a Denny's parking lot.
Really?
And you see the big Denny's sign, you're like, wow, wow. And you're like, okay, and you're okay. It's okay. That's up there. Like that normally is like, well, what could possibly beat that for the police blotter? What could possibly beat that?
A Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity?
Pretty close. Argentina. Argentina. Wife cuts off husband's penis and leaves knife in his dead eyeball.
What?
Yeah, so she cut off his penis and then killed him, cut off his penis and then stabbed him in the eye and left him there with the knife sticking out of his eye. Now, here's the best part of this because you know how I'm
Oh,
real down.
she's a keeper.
You know how I'm real down on McDonald's and the post office and a Walmart, right? Well,
Correct.
I'm also okay. I also have some other theories, and I learned these in college. So, in college, we had a thing, and you'd meet a girl, like your friend would meet a girl, and it would be like, what is the like, oh, what is that? What's her major? Like, oh my god, she's a psychology major. Be like, dude, run! The psychology majors are insane. They're crazy. So here it is. Wife cuts off husband's penis and leaves knife in his dead eyeball. He worked as a trumpet player. She worked as a psychologist. Yep, not unexpected one bit. I wouldn't expect she was a math major. So anyway, that wraps up episode 286 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see any of our stories or pictures or links of anything we discuss, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
That poor guy didn't see that coming. Bye-bye.
See ya.